Hello there, my name's Scott. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the A.P.S or Advanced Pulling System, which I received from www.rampagevapor.net. Before I start though, I must point out I did receive it free of charge for the purpose of conducting a review. My opinion of the product remains true, honest and accurate as always. Okay, let's go straight ahead and show in a bit more detail. Okay, so here we have the A.P.S, which stands for Advanced Pulling System, which unfortunately doesn't mean it's a guaranteed way to get yourself a nice girlfriend. What it does mean though is that you have a tank filled up with e-liquid. Inside this part you're going to screw in a regular 510 or 306 atomizer. Then as you inhale on the mouthpiece, you actually start to pull e-liquid through the bottom of the atomizer. And then once the juicer reaches the coil, it then becomes vaporized. Made out of medical grade stainless steel. The tank on this particular one is made out of polycarbonate, though in the future Pyrex tanks will also be available, and the tank holds around 3 millilitres of juice. At the top you're going to find an airflow control ring, so if you want to adjust the draw to your liking, you can just either screw it down or screw it up to adjust it. Now the A.P.S has been made specifically to be used only on a Adam, so if you don't have an Adam then unfortunately you won't be able to use it. Okay, so the easiest way to try and show you how this all works is to take it all apart and show you how to put it all together. Okay, so here we have all the parts that make up the A.P.S. So you have the polycarbonate tank and the atomizer sections. You then have this piece, which I believe is called an air tank, and the airflow control ring. You have the two parts which make up the top cap. Then either your regular 510 atomizer or regular 306 atomizer. And then also a sort of sprung-loaded pin which goes inside the tank and actually carries the negative part of the circuit. Okay, so to begin setting up the A.P.S, you can just take these two parts, make sure the O-ring's seated in there nicely, and then just screw them together. And then you can just take the tank and attach it to the base section here, so just slide it over the top and screw it all the way down so it's nice and tight. Okay, so for the next step we need to install this sprung loaded pin, and this is actually going to complete the negative side of the circuit. Without this installed you won't get any power to the atomizer whatsoever. So hopefully you can see just up here you have a small hole in the metal base, and the pin is going to fit into there like so. And then when you add the top cap on, that will come in contact with the top of the pin, and that will then carry the negative side of the circuit to the atomizer connection. Okay, so here I have what I believe is called the air tank and the airflow control ring, and to install this you just want to make sure that the O-ring side goes on first. So it just goes over the top and starts to screw into position. Hopefully you can see that you have these 5 little air holes, and then obviously as you start to screw this down you cover them up, creating a tighter draw. If you prefer a looser draw, just start to back it off a little bit. Okay, so here I have the atomizer section. This side is going to get screwed directly onto the tank, and on this side you're going to screw in either a regular size 510 atomizer or a 306 atomizer. And as you can hopefully see, you have these sort of 2 little holes at the top there, and these are going to help to feed juice through the bottom of the atomizer, and then once that juice hits the old heating coil, it's going to obviously vaporise. So all you've got to do is just take your atomizer and just screw that into the base. Okay, so now all the main parts have been assembled, you can just take your bottle of juice and fill up the tank. And then once the tank has been filled up, you can just take the top section which has your atomizer attached and screw it on. And once again, just make sure it's done up nice and tight. Then you can just take the air tank over the top and once again screw it all the way down. And then to finish it off, you just got to take the top cap, slide it over the top and screw it into place. That's it, all done. Okay, so once the APS has been all set up and filled up with your e-liquid, all you've got to do is attach it directly onto the end of the Adam, and that's it, you're good to go. Okay, so that is the A.P.S. Let's go ahead, see what it vapes like. Okay, so that was the A.P.S, and what I'll do now is go ahead and show in action. So I'm going to be using a fresh 18350 battery in the Adam, obviously because it is only compatible with the Adam, and the battery is reading, well, it should be reading around sort of 4.2 volts. The tank has been filled up with some 18mg strength tobacco flavoured e-liquid. It's just a PG e-liquid, and as far as I can remember, the 510 atomizer I'm using was initially a resistance of 1.8 ohms. Now I say initially because I've had the A.P.S for maybe sort of 2.5 months, something like that, and I've been using the same atomizer in it since the day I got it. Now I've not been using it every day for 2.5 months, but over that period of time it has had a fair amount of use. So I would imagine that the actual resistance of the atomizer has risen somewhat since then, but nevertheless it still seems to be performing quite nicely. Okay, so this is the A.P.S. So you can see, like vaporising, I'm getting plenty of vapour out of it, but obviously just bear in mind the amount of vapour you're going to get will be down to your own personal setup with regards to what sort of resistance atomizer you've got in there, or even the actual atomizer itself, whether it's a 510 or a 306. The type of e-liquid you're using, whether it's PG or VG. You know, you may be using the Adam with a kick in there, so it could be down to what sort of wattage you've got it set to, etc, etc. But nevertheless, with the setup I've got here, getting a really nice amount of vapour. And the same thing is obviously going to apply to like flavour throw here as well. What I will say though is that prior to getting the A.P.S, it had been a long time since I'd used a regular sort of 510 atomizer, because I mainly use these sort of rebuildable atomizers these days. And I've sort of forgotten just how much of a nice vape the actual atomizer or the regular 510 atomizer is, as long as that coil is sort of kept nice and wet. You know, they do produce plenty of vapour, they do produce a really nice flavour, they do give you a really nice solid throat hit as well. With regards to the draw, well obviously, you know, it's adjustable, so you can sort of tailor it to exactly how you'd like it. So if you prefer a tighter draw, obviously you can have a tighter draw. If you prefer a looser draw, you can have a looser draw. Having said that though, I mean, like, I've been using it with the in its sort of most open position, so in theory it should give me a really loose draw, but even in its most open position it is still actually quite tight. If I was going to say one was a really loose draw, 5 was a really tight draw, I'll say in its most open position it's still around sort of, probably around sort of 3.5 is still, you know, quite a tight draw, but you know, I quite like it though. But I suppose the thing that people are going to be sort of most wanting to know is whether it does actually transfer e-liquid from the tank up to the atomizer successfully. And I would say for 3/4 of the tank, you know, it does a really good job of it. Now, if I was going to sort of vape it completely upright like that, then you know, after maybe sort of 2 or 3 drags, I'm going to start getting a dry hit. Excuse me while I scratch my uter. But the actual natural tilt and the actual sort of you know, your inhaling does seem to be doing enough to actually draw, you know, plenty of e-liquid up onto that coil, and I can probably go around sort of 3/4 of the tank before I start noticing any sort of dry hits, and that's with the airflow in its sort of most open position as well. So for 3/4 of the tank, you know, you can vape it and it sort of automatically feeds it very, very nicely. It's only really the last sort of 1/4 of the tank where I'm having to sort of, you know, hold it almost upside down and just give it sort of 3 or 4 really sort of sharp drags to force some juice up there. So for 3/4 of the tank it works, you know, absolutely spot on. The last 1/4 of the tank you might have to sort of do a little bit of fiddling. But so in my eyes I'd say, you know, it does work really nicely. In terms of build quality, well, the actual Adam itself was a really nicely made device, and the A.P.S is no exception. Again, it's just very nicely machined. Everything screws together very nice and smoothly, and it also looks really good on the Adam as well. So in terms of sort of build quality, got no complaints at all. Obviously this one I said came with a polycarbonate tank, so there is that chance it could crack with certain liquids like that fluid vapor, for example, which is quite famous for being a tank killer. But they did say to me in a recent email that in the future they're going to be doing Pyrex tanks. Now I don't know if that means you can get a Pyrex tank separately or if it's going to come as standard with a Pyrex tank, so obviously just check the website. So sort of summarise really, you know, it's a really nice sort of tank. I don't know what you'd actually really call it, a tank atomizer, I suppose, something like that. Anyway, it's a really nice bit of kit. It goes great on the Adam. Obviously, if you haven't got an Adam, it's probably not going to be a lot of use to you because you won't be able to use it. I think on the website there is a GG adapter, so you may be able to use it on a GG product like a GGTS or GG Stealth. Not 100% sure on that though. But if you've got an Adam and you're looking for a nice sort of tank, you like direct dripping onto sort of 510 atomizers, which I know a lot of people still do, then this might be right up your street. Not a great deal else I can tell you about it, if you fancy trying one out for yourself, go along to www.rampagevapor.net. Thank you very much for watching. Also come along and visit my website at www.e-cig-reviews.com. It's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers guys, happy vaping, see you later.